When I'm starting seeds, I like to wet the soil, seed starting soil mix, before I sow my seeds. The last thing we want is for our seeds to dry out before they've germinated.
So something that is very important to consider when growing a garden from seed is how deep to plant the seed. And a general rule of thumb is to plant it at twice the depth of the actual size of the seed. But I want to talk about how to read a seed packet. So you'll notice on the back of a seed packet usually there will be recommendations of when to sow, and they'll make a statement like sow 2 to 4 weeks before the last frost. Our last frost happens generally in April or the end of March. And so we want to be looking at a calendar and picking a date. I've already done that for you, so you really don't need to worry about that. But if you're curious and you want to mark it all out, you can. And then another important thing to note is whether or not a seed requires lightness or darkness. So when a seed packet says to surface sow, that just means you can get away with scattering seed on fine soil and that it needs light to grow. So you don't want to cover it because that would be providing darkness. So some seeds that come to mind that need to be surface sown are carrots, tomatoes, poppies, pansies, violas, and there are more. Why would you start seeds indoors? Well, I start seeds indoors when I want to get a head start on the season ahead. So if I'm bored in January and I want to start some seeds indoors, but it's too cold out to plant them directly in the ground, I'll do it inside. Another reason why, and this is one of my favorites, is succession planting. So I will start some of my favorite seeds that I want to continue to grow all season long. I will start them indoors when there is no space in the garden, but I'll be ready when something in the garden has matured and is ready to come out. I'll be ready to plop in another succession of another plant. I hope you found this helpful, and let me know if you have any other questions about starting seeds indoors or outdoors. I can go into more detail in the future, but for now I think this gives us a good footing on getting out into the garden and growing this spring. I have a section on what I do annually on prepping garden beds, and one of those things is adding lime. The pH of the garden can change over time depending on what we add to it and with all the rainwater that we get. So I like to look out for stickiness in the garden bed, and I'll show you that in this next video. So that will make sense to you. It's just something that you can kind of grasp intuitively as you hang out in the garden more and more. But you can invest in a simple soil test kit, and it will include a pH test, and you can also do that. That's a fun little science experiment.
So this is that stickiness I was talking about. I really have to work hard, squeeze it to get it to crumble. But eventually it will, since I've added those amendments.
I hope you found this helpful, and let me know if you have any other questions about starting seeds indoors or outdoors. I can go into more detail in the future, but for now I think this gives us a good footing on getting out into the garden and growing this spring.